Welcome back. Still with Talk's international editor Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, bear with me. We're gonna talk about Captain Tom Moore, and frankly his awful daughter Hannah Ingram-Moore and her husband Colin, who have sadly cast a cloud over that great man's memory. He, of course, at the age of, I think it was 99, wasn't it, stepped out to try and raise money for the NHS. I remember his walking frame, and he became a national hero, set up a charity called the Captain Tom Foundation. Basically, Hannah Ingram-Moore and her husband stand accused of pocketing basically £1.5 million from a book that Tom wrote, best-selling book called Tomorrow Will Be a Good Day. And rather than put her £18,000 appearance fee at an awards ceremony into the charity coffers, it appears she kept £16,000 for herself. She demanded £150,000 a year to run the charity. My question is, I mean, I don't know how much of this is what she is accused of doing. This is what the charity foundation have ruled. Now, if she took all this money, my question is, where are the police? This is fraud. Shouldn't she be prosecuted?
I think this is such a tragic case, isn't it? I remember our colleague Piers Morgan had that amazing...
Yeah, I'm going to play a clip of that in a minute, but after you've had your say, so carry on, please.
Yeah, well, I wasn't incredibly interested in the case until I watched Piers's interview with the family, and I just was absolutely mesmerised by that interview. And what I concluded afterwards was that this was a family that was wholly ill-equipped and probably tremendously badly advised for the sudden fame that they experienced, and they let greed get the better of them, and it has been absolutely devastating for them reputationally. I mean, unless they are made of far sterner stuff than almost anybody, they must feel broken by the embarrassment that they have heaped on themselves and the extent to which their behaviour has kind of tarnished all the feeling about their amazing dad and grandfather. It's so sad, isn't it?
It really is, and we shouldn't let this tarnish our memory of Captain Tom, of course. And you know, and Hannah Ingram-Moore and her husband Colin should hang their heads in shame. Couple of bits of footage to play for you. Well, let's first of all remember this was Piers Morgan talking to the couple in question on TalkTV around about a year ago, I seem to remember. So take it away, Piers.
What will you say to people who'll say you shouldn't have kept that money, that it should have all gone to the charity, that these books were based on Captain Tom, it's the public are buying the books, it should all have gone to charity? What will you say to those?
But they were my father's books. He wrote them, and he decided what to do with the income from them. It was his wishes, not ours. He made the decision about the things that he did. We didn't act for him.
Colin, I mean, people will criticise this, you know that. But are you comfortable looking back? Would you do the same thing again? Given all the attention that's now being put on you as a family, all the criticism, would you, if you had your time again, keep that money?
Yes. You know, it was his money, his income.
Yeah, right. This is, by the way, Isabel, before we come back, this is Julia Hartley-Brewer talking to Tom's daughter before everything hit the fan.
If you look at digital enablement, we know there's a problem. The digital world isn't going to go backwards. Yeah. So how do we make sure that there's access, digital access, financial services? How do we make sure, as my father had this incredible relationship with his grandchildren because he lived with them for 13 years, that total interconnectivity between the young and the old, we need to bring them back because we need them. Yeah. You know, my father's voice had wisdom and wit, and he had knowledge. And we need that knowledge practically put back into our society, and we hope that we can find ways to do that.
I mean, those are fine words, but she did exactly the opposite. She defiled the memory of her father, his wisdom and his brilliance and his sense of service. I mean, all that couple did was bleed that charity dry. My interpretation is, Isabel, to be sort of slightly charitable towards them. You know, they're people who probably never had that much money. Suddenly they're swimming around in millions and they couldn't resist the temptation. As I say, she kept £1.5 million from his book, sales of his book, which he wanted to go to charity. They came up with a gin product, again for the charity, 90,000. She kept that money and she demanded 150,000 to run the charity. So frankly, her snout was in the trough and so was her husband's. And, you know, at the very least, I think they should reflect on this. I hope they're feeling very ashamed of themselves today. And I do believe, you know, this is an affront to Tom's memory. I think the police should be involved. I don't understand why there's no talk of a potential, at least, investigation. This is fraud.
So I think I disagree with you about that. I think they're probably pretty broken as it is. You know, the punishment has been the national humiliation to which they have brought upon themselves. You know, they had to unravel the spa facility that they built at his property without proper planning permission. That must have been extremely painful. You know, far from it be from me to be over compassionate in this case, but you know, police have far too much to do. They're already busying themselves in far too many minor matters, and I'm not sure there's much to be gained in terms of the public interest in any kinds of prosecution here.
All right, it's very generous of you. I'll go along with it, but perhaps they could go round to Hannah's house and warn her that she's being recorded for a non-crime hate incident, because they like doing that kind of thing, don't they?